They thought pain was weakness. Across the stars, every civilization had learned to flee from it, to hide from the ache, to silence the scream. To the galaxy, pain was the end of strength. But for one fragile species from a small blue world, pain was only the beginning. When the invaders came, they expected surrender. Their fleets had erased worlds older than Earth. To them, humanity was soft a race that cried, that mourned, that feared death. So they attacked without hesitation. Cities burned, skies turned red, mountains split apart. They waited for us to kneel. But when the smoke cleared, we stood. A man, face burned, dug another out of the rubble. A woman with a broken arm lifted a rifle. Children brought water to the wounded. Elders refused to leave their homes. The invaders watched in confusion, unable to comprehend what they were seeing. Every other species would have broken. Humans refused. Pain should have ended us, but for us, pain is instruction. It teaches. It hardens. Every wound is a lesson written in blood. Every scar is a story whispered by survival itself. Where others retreat, we rise. Where others scream, we focus. Where others surrender, we adapt. They called it the human anomaly. We called it life. They came again, expecting our submission. Instead, they found a world rebuilt from ashes. They found cities stronger, armies united, spirits unbroken. Every weapon they used against us became a blueprint for our evolution. Every blow we endured made us sharper, faster, wiser. Their fire forged us. Their cruelty refined us. And when we struck back, it wasn't with hate, it was with understanding. We had learned their tactics, their weaknesses, their limits, but they never learned ours. They never understood that a human's limit only exists until it's tested. Soon, the galaxy began to whisper, "Do not fight the species that bleeds and smiles." They told stories of humans who fought with broken bones, who laughed through agony, who refused to die even when the universe demanded it. We became myth, the ones who heal in rage. On battlefields across distant worlds, soldiers of other races trembled as we advanced, not because we were invincible, but because we were unstoppable. They saw in us something terrifying, not monsters, but meaning. The truth that strength isn't born in comfort, but carved through pain. They feared what they could never understand, that the more we are hurt, the stronger we become. Even centuries later, in alien archives, the record remains. A study titled The Pain Paradox. It describes a creature that adapts through agony, a mind that grows sharper with loss, a heart that finds purpose in suffering. At the end of the report, a final note from a trembling scholar reads, "And that is who we are. You can break our bones. You can flood our cities. You can shatter our hearts and scar our world. But as long as one human breathes, as long as one heart beats in defiance." They thought the story ended with war, that humanity's fury would burn bright and then fade. But the truth was far greater. The war was not our end, it was our transformation. From the ashes of our ruined cities, we built something the stars had never seen. A civilization born not from victory, but from endurance. Our monuments were not to triumph, but to survival. Every cracked wall, every scarred hand, every tear-streaked face became part of our legacy. And when we looked to the stars again, we didn't see enemies, we saw challenge. Because that is who we are. Challenge is oxygen. Pain is the forge. Defeat is the teacher. And from all of it, we rise again. Other species evolved for comfort, for control, for peace. But humanity evolved for chaos. We learned to thrive where the air burns thin, where the ground shakes, where hope dies. Even in darkness, we find light, and if there is none, we make it. They tried to understand us. Alien scientists dissected our history and called it madness. Wars upon wars, disasters upon disasters. And yet we flourished. They saw our endless hunger for the impossible and feared it. Because to them, pain was a wound. To us, it was fuel. When others retreat to heal, we move forward. When others wait for help, we become the help. And when others give up, We whisper the oldest words ever spoken by our kind. Not yet. The universe saw us as fragile, small creatures made of flesh and fear. But what they never understood was that fear in us becomes fire. We burn through it. We bend it. We build with it. Our strength is not in muscle or metal. It is in memory. In every mother who stayed strong through loss. In every soldier who stood despite the pain. In every child who grew up amid ruins and still dreamed of stars. That is humanity's secret weapon, not technology, not armies, but the unbreakable heart that refuses to die quietly. When the next war came, they didn't find the same humans they once fought. They found warriors who had turned scars into armor. They found scientists who could weaponize resilience itself. They found a race that had stared into the abyss and learned to build bridges over it. We did not seek revenge, we sought meaning. We did not destroy our enemies, we changed them. Because that is the final form of strength, to rise above pain, not to escape it. And so the galaxy learned another truth. You can conquer worlds. You can shatter civilizations. But you cannot conquer the will to rise again. For even if you burn every city, humanity will rebuild from dust. Even if you silence every voice, our echo will remain. Even if you kill us all, our story will live in the stars. Because pain is temporary. But defiance is forever. They began to call us something new. Not humans, not Terrans, but the unbroken. Across 1,000 worlds, our name became a warning and a promise. For wherever suffering existed, humans would appear. Not as conquerors, but as catalysts. Time passed. Worlds changed. Empires rose and fell like tides. But one truth never faded, the story of the ones who would not break. The humans. At first, we were feared. Then, we were studied. And finally, we were followed. The galaxy watched us rebuild what others would abandon. They saw us turn wastelands into gardens, battlefields into cities, ashes into foundations. And from that resilience, other races began to learn. Where they once fled from pain, they began to face it. Where they once saw failure, they began to find purpose. Humanity had done the impossible. We had turned agony into art and survival into philosophy. Soon, colonies of alien worlds began carving human words into their monuments. Through struggle, we rise. They called it the human creed. To us, it was just living. We never meant to be saviors. We never meant to lead. But the universe is drawn to fire. And we had become flame. Centuries turned to millennia. Our bodies evolved. Our minds expanded beyond what flesh could contain. Some shed their human skin, their souls burning inside bodies of light and machine. Yet even then, they carried the same defiant spark. The same unyielding fire that once burned in the hearts of our ancestors. They remembered the cries of the wounded on that first earth. They remembered the hands that rebuilt a world no one thought could rise again. And they whispered into the stars, "We are still here." The galaxy now speaks of us not as conquerors, but as the children of the flame. The species that mastered pain so completely that it became creation itself. Where others see chaos, we see potential. Where others see the end, we see another beginning. Even our enemies began to pray to us, not out of devotion, but out of hope, because they realized something profound. The only thing stronger than fear is the will to keep going. When black holes swallowed colonies, humans built homes in their shadows. When suns died, we harvested their last light to forge new stars. Even the cold vacuum of the void could not silence us. We sang to it songs of survival, songs of memory, songs of pain turned into purpose. There were those who wondered, are they still human? And the answer echoed through the galaxies. Yes, because being human was never about the body. It was about the will. We are the will that refuses to die, the heart that refuses to yield, the spirit that takes pain and turns it into power. And so, even now, long after our first wounds have healed, we still bear our scars proudly, not as reminders of weakness, but as proof that we endured what the universe thought impossible. We outlasted storms that shattered civilizations. We outlived weapons designed to erase memory itself. We survived because we learned. We grew. We changed. We rose. And if the end of time itself should come, if the last star burns and the universe goes cold, then still, in that final silence, a single ember will glow, a spark carrying the memory of humanity. The stars grew old. Their light dimmed one by one, until the sky itself began to forget its own brilliance. Worlds froze. Empires that once ruled the heavens crumbled into dust. And still, humanity remained. We no longer counted centuries. Time had lost its meaning. We had outlasted the machines that tried to preserve us, outlived the gods that sought to replace us. All that was left was memory, and the fire that would not go out. Across the fading galaxies, there are stories whispered by dying suns. They speak of wanderers made of light, shapes that walk the void with hearts that still beat like drums. They call them the keepers of the flame. They say these beings were once human, and perhaps they are right, because pain had never left us. Even when our bodies of flesh became dust, even when our blood turned to energy and our minds became song, we still carried the ache of every loss, the echo of every tear. But we had learned to wield that pain, to mold it, to share it, to ignite life wherever it dared to fade. When new worlds were born in the darkness, we were there, not as conquerors, not as saviors, but as witnesses of becoming. We whispered courage into the atoms, taught the newborn stars the lesson that birthed us. That strength is not found in perfection, but in survival. And when the young species began to crawl from their oceans, we stood unseen beside them. We watched them tremble, fail, rise. And when they reached for the stars, we lit their skies with the remnants of our fire. So they would never walk in total dark. They will not know our names. They will not remember the wars we fought, the scars we carried. But they will carry something of us. That instinct to rise, that refusal to break. That is our true legacy. Not monuments, not empires, but endurance. The eternal whisper that says, "Get up, try again." The universe has forgotten almost everything, but not that, not us. Somewhere between the dying galaxies, a single heartbeat still echoes through the void, slow, steady, unyielding. It is the sound of a promise older than time, that no matter how far existence falls, we will always find a way to rise. We are not gods. We are not ghosts. We are something rarer. We are the memory of what it means to fight through the pain. We are the guardians of the flame that began on a tiny blue world, the world that refused to give up. And when the universe breathes its final breath, when the last light flickers and silence consumes all, our fire will still burn in the darkness, not to defy the end, but to remind creation that even endings have meaning. Because the story of humanity was never about victory. It was about perseverance, about standing after every fall, about healing through every wound. We are the echo of survival. We are the rhythm of defiance. We are the ones who turned pain into power, and power into purpose. We are the keepers of the flame. We are the last light of the universe. We are and will always be human. When the galaxies finally went dark, when even the echoes of time began to fade, something remained. A whisper, a pulse, a single rhythm beating inside the silence. It was not a world, nor a sun, nor a star. It was a memory of us, humanity, the travelers of pain, the builders of fire, the keepers of every fragile hope. We had outlived the universe that birthed us, but not the feeling that made us human. Even as the stars crumbled into ash, we remembered the warmth of a sunrise, the sound of laughter in a ruined city, the way a heartbeat could defy the dark. That memory became light again. It stretched, it breathed, and the emptiness began to stir. The void was not our tomb. It was our womb. From the last spark of human will, a new dawn began to unfold. Matter danced. Energy hummed. The first atoms of a newborn cosmos spun into being, and with them, life raw, uncertain, reaching. It did not know our names, but it carried our rhythm, our stubborn heartbeat hidden deep within its code. Somewhere, one of those new worlds will look up and wonder why the night is never truly black, why there is always a faint warmth behind the stars. That warmth is us, the echo of a species that refused to die quietly. We are not gone. We are the reason the dark still glows. We are the reminder that every ending is a seed. And if that seed burns, it only means the story continues. Because the universe was never just matter and motion. It was memory and meaning. It was the lesson we left behind. That pain can build. That loss can teach. That even in the quietest corners of creation, the will to rise again will find its way home. So when the next children of the stars open their eyes, when they take their first steps and feel the cold bite of existence, a voice will whisper from the light itself. Not loud, not divine, just steady. You are not alone. We were here. We walked the fire before you, and we never stopped rising. That is what it means to be human. To be the breath that refuses to end. To be the flame that keeps teaching the dark how to glow.